Hello, I'm Nancy Windhart, and if we haven't met before, I'm really glad that you're here. If you're an old friend, welcome back. I'm a professional animal communicator and interspecies communication teacher. I create online educational resources like this video, and I teach classes and training programs for people who want to learn more about animal and interspecies communication. I also offer animal communication consultations for human clients and their animal companions. Animal communication as a field has really expanded in recent years, and especially since I first started practicing in this field almost 20 years ago. This is a wonderful development, and more people are becoming aware that this way of communicating intuitively, telepathically with animals and all life is a natural ability that we all share, and we can uncover it and begin to remember how to use it. And with this expansion of awareness and understanding of the whole field of animal communication has also come a proliferation of people who are entering the field as animal communicators. Though this is an ability that we all share and we can all develop and we can all use, there are times when it can be really helpful and sometimes necessary to have some outside help in understanding our animal friends. A highly skilled and trained and ethical animal communicator can be a really important team, a really important member of a team of professionals who can help you to better understand your animal friends. And just as in any profession, there's a variety of competence and skill in the animal communication world. So in this video, I wanted to talk about 5 things that I think it's important to think about when you're beginning to choose an animal communicator. I want to just make a note here that I use the word professional, as in professional animal communicator, to describe anybody who's using telepathic or intuitive interspecies communication to help others, whether or not it's their job or whether they're offering it as a volunteer or in a kind of an exchange or as a paid service or as a career. So the first thing I think that it's really important to think about and to look for when you're beginning to explore finding an animal communicator to work with is training. Since animal communication is a non-traditional career path, there's many different ways that people can become professional animal communicators. And again, to emphasize though, intuitive communication is a natural way of relating to animals and all life, and that ability is innate in all of us. Learning how to use that ability clearly and accurately in a skillful way without interjecting human ideas or projections, assumptions, is something that has to be cultivated and developed. Learning how to use interspecies communication in a professional, accurate, and clear way to assist animals and their human companions almost always requires some kind of training and mentoring. This might be in the form of classes, workshops, online training and certification programs, apprenticeship, solo study and practice, and often a combination of all of these. I found over the years of working with people and also training animal communicators myself is that the most skilled animal communicators in the field have often studied and practiced and trained for many years before beginning to kind of hang out their shingle professionally, so to speak. Experience can also be important when choosing an animal communicator. Though, just as in any profession, somebody who is new to the field and really excited and enthusiastic may be excellent in their work, and someone who's had many years of experience in the field may not be as skilled. Experience is one of the factors that might be important to investigate when choosing an animal communicator. So finding out, in addition to how the person was trained and what their path has been, finding out how long they've been practicing. That can be in terms of time, and it can also be in just the amount of consultations that they've done. So I was recently talking with one of my students who, has just been training for about a year and a half, but has already done about 500 practice consultations. And that's a lot of experience that she's already got under her belt, even though she hasn't even finished her professional certification training program. So experience is important, and it's one of the questions that you can ask about or research about when you're looking for a professional animal communicator. A good animal communicator will present their training and experience honestly and accurately. The next quality and that I think is really important to look for and to think about when hiring an animal communicator is ethics. And so it's important to choose an animal communicator who has strong internal ethics and adheres to strong ethical guidelines. So some of these, and this is not an exhaustive list, but I just want to give you an example of what this can look like. So some of the important ethical considerations that we want to think about in the animal communication field are things like permission, only engaging in a communication upon request and with permission of both the animal and the human involved in their care. Clearly communicating about policies, protocols, how a person works with regard to their time, their fees, their scheduling. Everybody does this work a little bit differently, and it's important that the person is able to just clearly communicate with you about that. It's also important for a good animal communicator to honor each client and their animal companion as individuals with their own path, their own ability to make choices and decisions about their own lives, and to not interject their opinions or ideas or wishes into the communication. It's important for animal communicators to understand their scope of practice and refer to other trained professionals as appropriate. And this is especially important when dealing with a physical or a veterinary or medical issue. It's really important that an animal communicator does not diagnose or recommend that you add or change or remove any medication or medical treatment that has been prescribed by a veterinarian. And the only exception to this is if the animal communicator themselves is also a trained veterinarian. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this one because I feel it's really important. And it's important for clients to understand as they engage in a relationship with an animal communicator. An animal communicator can be helpful with physical conditions and illness in a bunch of different ways that does not violate that guideline of not diagnosing or recommending treatment. So an animal communicator can describe symptoms from the animal's point of view and experience. And depending on the skill of the animal communicator, this can get quite granular and very specific of what the animal is experiencing to the extent that they are aware of it and able to communicate about that. An animal communicator can also communicate with the animal about procedures and treatment protocols, help them to understand. And this is a way that you can include an animal in dialogue about the choices that they want to make regarding treatment. An animal communicator can communicate with the animal about their viewpoints and their wishes and experiences about various treatments and options. And this can be really helpful, from something like, how do you feel after you take that medication? Or how do you feel when you have had the acupuncture treatment at your vet's office? Those kinds of things. An animal communicator can also suggest supportive modalities that can be helpful for your animal. And that's different than prescribing or recommending them in a definitive kind of way, but just offering them as options that you might not be aware of that might be possible for you to consider. Always recognizing that it's your choice what you do with that. An animal communicator can also suggest that you get a second opinion from another veterinary professional. And, if you and your animal are not getting the help that you feel that you need and you learn some things in a consultation, that's always an option to get that second opinion. But the animal communicator themselves is not that professional who gives that kind of advice or diagnosis. And again, all of those things are always the client's choice. So they're in the best case scenario to be offered just as suggestions or as options to consider. Be really cautious and aware if an animal communicator tells you something that you must do, whether that's see another professional, do another kind of healing, book another session with them, do another kind of modality, or if they make a diagnosis or recommend a change in treatment unless they're in partnership and working on the team along with your veterinarian. Also, be very cautious if an animal communicator promises to cure or heal your animal. There's a really wonderful code of ethics that was written now many years ago by Penelope Smith, and that's often referred to as an ethical standard in the field of animal communication. And I'll make a link to that code of ethics below. The next thing that it's important to think about when choosing an animal communicator is compatibility. It's really important to find an animal communicator that you feel comfortable with and that you're a good fit with. You're going to possibly be discussing some really important, deep, maybe private, emotional issues with this person, and you want to work with somebody that you really trust and feel comfortable with. So that good fit, that compatibility is going to vary for everyone. And the animal communicator that's a great fit for one person might not be a great fit for you. So read their website, watch videos, read articles, read books, and see what your intuition tells you about this person. Stay in touch with your feelings as you have your first session, and just notice if this person and the way they work and the way they communicate both with you and with your animal friend feel like a good fit for you. Ask questions. Animal communicators love that. Ask questions if you don't understand something, if you don't understand how a person is working, or if something that they say doesn't make sense. The more that you're involved in the communication, in the consultation, the more the animal communicator is going to be able to help you and your animal friend. Many animal communicators also practice other kinds of supportive modalities, such as Reiki or flower essence therapy, things like healing touch, Tellington touch, acupressure, and other kinds of wellness and intuitive modalities. So it's possible that you're looking for those particular kinds of support for your animal, and so you can also look for somebody who's skilled in those kinds of things in addition to their animal communication training and experience. An ethical animal communicator will always communicate how these modalities may be helpful, how they're supportive, and how they're supportive of but not the same as direct animal communication. You can also notice your animal's responses during the session and afterwards. A good communication session will often be noticeable in the animal's responses, in their energy, or in something that shifted in your relationship with your animal, both during and after that communication. It's a good idea to ask for recommendations from people that you trust, but do your own investigation, and most importantly, trust your own inner knowing. And then the final suggestion that I'll give you for choosing an animal communicator is to educate yourself. Find out all you can about what animal communication is, how it works, what it can do, what it can't do, how it can be helpful. This will make you a really educated client, and this will help you to understand this beautiful modality that can help to create deeper and more harmonious relationships between you and your animal companions. If you'd like to learn more, I will link to some blog posts that I have with more information, as well as my free online introductory course called The Basics of Animal Communication. And you will also link some other resources in the notes below. If you found this video helpful, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to this channel and pressing that like button. What that does is it helps us to reach more people who are interested in animal communication. You can always find additional resources, including a lot of free information on my website, and learn more about my work. And that website is nancywindhart.com. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.